Welcome, everyone. My name is Kimberley, and I hope you came hungry because you're on Ambitious Appetite. Ambitious Appetite is my podcast where I share my life stories and talk through real, raw topics that hopefully make you feel less alone in the world. So be sure to grab a plate to eat from because, oh, do I have some juicy stories to share. I'm still trying and testing things out, so I really do appreciate the support I've received so far. And thank you for taking the time to listen or watch today's podcast. If you can, I would love it if you can like, comment, subscribe, rate us 5 stars on Spotify so we can create more content. So thanks for tuning in on episode 4,
Growing Up with Filipino Parents.
It's kind of like an intro on growing up with traditional Filipino parents. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my childhood, how it's kind of affected me today as a person, and hopefully it'll be a great segue to a few other episodes that I have some topics that I really want to kind of dive deeper in. So first things first, let's talk about my childhood. So my childhood, I grew up with Filipino parents who watched TFC and GMA. TFC is the Filipino channel. GMA is, it's not Good Morning America. It's something else that I can't remember. So I hope I don't get hate for that. But unfortunately, I was not able to really engage and connect with my classmates because I was just forced to watch the Filipino channel. I had no option. And the reason why is because we literally had Comcast, which is now, I believe, owned by DirecTV, or maybe DirecTV is owned by Comcast. I can't remember. And at the time, we had 2 TVs, one in the living room, one in my parents' room, and unfortunately, they were connected. And what I mean by that is that if my parents decide to watch the TFC, or DMA, that is literally what would be playing in my parents' room as well. So I had no autonomy over watching Disney Channel or watching any other show. God, I remember having to fight with my mom, being like, I want to watch Kim Possible. I want to watch Rugrats. I want to watch all these TV shows so I can connect with my friends. And she's like, well, now my soap opera is coming up and I need to watch it. And so I remember hating it. But as I grew older, I will say the Filipino soap operas were much better back in the day. I haven't seen any recently, so I guess I can't really compare, but the drama was really funny. So that was one aspect of growing up with traditional parents. Another aspect of growing up with traditional parents is I'm very thankful that I can understand Tagalog fluently. Can I speak it very well? Well, I have an American accent and I can speak it, but it's really tough for me to speak it. I wish I could speak it fluently. Unfortunately, that was not a skill that I practiced as a kid, but I can understand it fluently, and I'm very happy that I can. It's so fun when I can overhear a conversation in Tagalog. Tagalog is the official national language of the Philippines. It's so fun when I can overhear a conversation and be like, ooh, I can translate that. I can literally be the interpreter for this conversation. It's a fun way of eavesdropping when you don't even realize you're eavesdropping. So that was really fun. What was not fun, though, was when you're the oldest and you have been given the highest standard to achieve. Okay, I'm going to just flat out say it. When you're the oldest child in a traditional Filipino family, damn, you go through I was taking care of my sister. I didn't even have a big childhood. I was an adult. I literally created my first meal, which was chicken adobo, which was super salty. I was killing it at age 10. I was yo, man, I could be living out here on my own. But what I will say, I'm very thankful to have gained that skill set because I'm very independent now. I'm very responsible. And I think without that experience, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. But man, is it hard? It's so hard to be the oldest when you're in a Filipino family. I remember, man, my sister had it easy. My sister had it so easy. She doesn't believe me, but she had it so easy. So freaking easy. Oh my God. I remember my parents would get so mad when I would talk back. And it's just like me explaining something and be like, you can't talk back. And like, keep in mind, I'm making this all light and funny and joking because that was the culture that they grew up with. You don't speak back to your parents, you don't provide your reasoning, you just do as they say and don't ask questions. So, like, I think because I became like I was the oldest and I became responsible. I was taking care of my younger sister. I started having my own ideas. And sometimes they don't like those ideas. I definitely got in trouble for talking back, sharing my ideas, and doing things that they just didn't like. Let me just say, I know it's not common now, but I just remember anything was a thing that could be thrown. Let's just say that. And like, they're not like that anymore. Like, I think, the world's changed, but it was something that I grew up in. And what I love most about Filipinos and traditional Filipino parents is they love food. And I think my love for food has definitely extended over because of them. I remember growing up and I hated it as a kid, but I think like if I were an adult, I would probably love it. But we would go to so many Filipino like fiestas. Oh my God. My parents' family were huge, specifically my mom's family. Her family is freaking huge. There's like 10 of them. And like it's always someone's birthday, and when they have a birthday, they have like a huge party. What I love most about having or one of the things that I love most about having Filipino parents is like when Filipinos party, they party hard and they go big. Like there's always a freaking pig at the table. I like can't remember what it's called, but they would literally have like a center pig that you would just like see had an apple in its mouth, and it was just like the centerpiece. And I remember that pig got damaged. That pig was like gone. And I remember having to get the pig skin and the meat just for my parents. I was not a huge fan of it. My parents loved it, so I got some extra for them. And like what I loved, oh my gosh, was like the different types of food and the different parties. Like Filipino parties, I will say, are like one of the best parties ever. Like they're top tier because not only do they have amazing food, they're set out to give you a show. They're like, let's bring out the dancers. I remember growing up freaking dancing at all these different parties, big or small, dancing for money. Because I was like, yo, I need a way to make money because I want to buy some video games. And I would just dance or sing. I would perform, man. I was like a performing kid at these parties, and I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, as a kid, I was just like, I'm just here to make some cash. But like, now that I think about it, I'm like, wow, I should have made that into a career, right? It was hilarious because every single party, big or small, there was always a performance. Like at these big fancy parties, there'd be dancers. It would literally be happening while people were eating. So it was like a whole show. Like you got to show food and like a party to just celebrate and dance with. And I will say, like, I loved dancing at these Filipino parties because they always played this one song, which is like the cha-cha song. Like everyone knows the moves, and like all the aunts and uncles like run to the floor and do the freaking cha-cha. And you're just like, oh, well, I guess I got to learn the cha-cha too. So like you grow up learning the cha-cha, and I'm just like, you hear the song, and they can take any song that has like a similar beat and make that into a cha-cha song. And I'm like, wow, y'all got it. And man, I'm in New York now, and there isn't like Filipino festivals or anything happening, or maybe I just don't know about it. But in California, The Bay Area, man, such a big Filipino community. So there's always something happening. I remember Filipino actors and actresses would fly over to California. There would be these big festivals hosted by like TFC or GMA or like whatever, like some sort of company to, get people to come. And like there'd be tons of Filipino vendors, there'd be tons of games. I remember like standing in line to get the signature of like these actresses and actors, and I don't even know who this is, but like, hey, what's up? Like, if there's one thing that I would love to kind of take on is to like throw really great parties. That's like one of my most memorable things in my life that I truly enjoyed. What I will say though, even though Filipinos have really great food, they have really great parties. Oh man, the food though, they're literally so unhealthy for you. And I don't know if this is super controversial, but it's very unhealthy for you. Like, because most of the I don't want to say most of the cuisine, but like lots of the cuisine that I had was very heavy in oil, deep fried fish, just not very healthy. I did not realize until I got older how unhealthy some of the food that I was eating. Like, that's not something you should probably eat every day. Like, things that were high in cholesterol or things that could potentially give you a heart attack. My dad had, some health problems. And so I remember always hearing about high blood pressure and cholesterol, thinking like, oh, I guess he can't eat certain foods or eat too much of it because it would increase his cholesterol and high blood pressure. And I was like, but those were the foods that tasted so freaking good. So freaking good. Man, I could, as an adult, I could probably not eat that every day. I would have serious health problems. And here's something else that's controversial. So, I don't know if it's super controversial. Filipinos have this grocery mart called Seafood City. Seafood City was so fun. I loved going there because they always had a Jollibee, and Jollibee is so fun and tasty. And if you're watching this or listening to this podcast, if you haven't tried Jollibee, it's like the fast food. It's like the McDonald's for Filipinos, right? Jollibee is like Disneyland, or at least that's how they describe it. So go check out a Jollibee. Their popular dish is called Chicken Joy, which is like a bucket of chicken, but it is literally like a McDonald's and a KFC put together for Filipinos. I love their Joy burgers, or it's called the Yum Burger. So good, but most people don't like it. So my favorite thing when I go to Seafood City, first off, why the hell is it always so cold? This Seafood City, you can imagine, is like a big grocery store with like fresh seafood. It's almost like a Whole Foods, but with Filipino like meats, cuisine, seasoning, everything you could think of, but Filipino style. But what was really cool about this Seafood City was that, again, I don't know what it is, but Filipinos are brilliant when it comes to like setting things up. Not only do they have performances like at big events, they also get performances at the Seafood City. I can tell you straight up, I've danced in one of those Seafood Cities. Okay? They'll have like events and stuff in this grocery store. Like, that is so, like, I grew up with that, but like, I have not seen anything like that in New York City. So I do really miss that. And my parents would take me, they would know the ins and outs of like the Filipino events and stuff like that. So it's so funny because like Filipinos, I think, have like a tight knit community. They all talk, right? They all talk for sure. I remember, I think my parents really loved this restaurant called Chow King. I want to say it's called Chow King. I don't know why, but I never liked Chow King. And this is the part that might be controversial. I personally preferred Jollibee over Chow King. I don't know. Sorry. That's just me. If any viewers or listeners are like, what the hell is Chow King? What the hell is Seafood City? Look it up. Be open to it. It's super fun. Tasty food. support Filipino grocery stores, Filipino restaurants. Oh my God. It's so freaking good. You have to try it. Keep an open mind because there's definitely some dishes out there that I'm like, ooh, dinuguan. Oh my God. If you take one look at dinuguan, you're like, ew, what is that? But like, honestly, it's pretty tasty. So hopefully, you kind of learned a little bit about what it's like growing up with traditional Filipino parents. Hopefully you kind of got a sense of what it means to be Filipino. What I will say, Filipinos will stuff your face with food. Like whenever we have guests, I always try to cook or like give food because I grew up with Filipino families always making sure you eat. Even if you're not hungry, you better make sure you eat. And so I guess like I've kind of taken that because I do try to feed people even if they're not hungry. But I don't know. I think it's endearing, and I think if you ever decide to visit the Philippines when things clear up, I haven't looked into like the safety guidelines if it's safe yet or if they've opened up their borders for international travel. But if you ever get the chance, Filipinos are incredibly nice. Like they are very kind. They open their arms and welcome you. They have delicious food, fresh food, especially in the Philippines. They have beautiful beaches. Hopefully you learned a little bit about Filipinos in this episode and it's encouraged you to kind of look into the culture and maybe visit one day. So thank you all so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.